In this section, we're going to learn how to do setup and teardown for our tests using before each and after each. Let's start by adding another function to test. This will be the add function. Of course, the add function takes in two parameters, num1 and num2, and returns the two numbers added together. I'll create another describe, naming this add without setup and teardown, and I'll create an initial variable, and then I'll create a test that adds to that number. Now I'll make a mutating change, and then assert that num is the correct value. If I save and run my tests, you can see that all of our tests are passing. Now I'll go back and add another test. This test tests that when adding 7 to 5, I get 12. Now if you've been watching, you've probably seen that this test is going to fail. And if we save our file and run our tests, you'll see that indeed it does. It says that expected 17 to equal 12, and the failing test should be 12 when adding 7 to 5. Going back to our code, we can see why that is. I've initialized the variable num here on line 31, but in the first test I mutate that number here, and in the second test I expect it to have the initial value again. Now this may be a less useful example here, but in more complex tests, say when creating a class and assuming that that class is in its initial state, you're going to want to reset to the initial condition every time you run each test. So let's fix our code, and we can do that by calling before each. Before each takes a single parameter, which is a callback function, and it executes this callback function at the beginning of every test. Now we'll move our code from here into the before each function, and then move the declaration outside of the before each function. And now if we save and run our tests, we're back to a passing state. There is a corresponding after each function, which you can use to run code after each and every test.